This time last year, Texas and Oklahoma were voted into the SEC. Now, right now, it's set to join in 2025. There hasn't been a lot of huge shocking moves that have happened yet after that. The biggest one is Big 12 adding BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. That all changed on June 30th, 2022, when USC and UCLA were voted into the Big Ten Conference and are set to join in 2024. And now, the conference that is mainly Midwestern looks like this.
Ah! Good God! It's hideous. But beautiful in an ugly way. But mostly hideous. Ugh.
Why would USC and UCLA leave all the West schools in the Pac 12 and all the rivalries with those schools just to play Michigan in the snow in November? It's for the money. From reports, it seems like the Big Ten will pay each of its schools $100 million a year. That's 2 to 3 times more money than they are getting from the Pac 12. But it seems like the Big Ten isn't going to stop at 16. Their top expansion candidates are now Notre Dame, Oregon, and Washington. They will also add one more team that will get them to 20 teams. If the Big Ten goes to 20 schools, then the SEC will follow them to 20 schools. Both conferences think they're the best conference in college sports, and they're getting paid like it. The SEC schools will also get around $100 million a year. With that kind of money, anyone would want to jump ship to the SEC. So here's my list of the top expansion candidates from least likely to most likely. Keep in mind the SEC would only add 4 of these schools. The long shots to join the SEC are Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Oregon, and Washington. I've heard a few fans say if these schools don't get in the Big Ten, they would go to the SEC. This is probably the worst way the SEC could expand. I think the SEC will most likely pick off Atlantic Coastal Conference teams since they're in the southeastern part of the United States and are obviously in the Southeastern Conference's territory. I just don't see the SEC going coast to coast like the Big Ten. Duke is number 7 on the list. They have one of the best college basketball programs in the sports history. They might go through a slump after their greatest coach in Duke history, Coach K, has retired from college basketball, but this is Duke we're talking about. They will always be one of the best basketball programs in the country. The only thing the football team can write home about is that Daniel Jones played there. The reason Duke is so low in the list is that the lack of interest of the SEC. Duke considers itself one of the top academic schools in the country, and joining the SEC would ruin that reputation. I see Duke going to Big Ten since they care a lot more about academics than the SEC. The only way Duke even considers joining the SEC is if North Carolina joins the conference. And even then, Duke might still be okay with playing them out of conference. Virginia Tech is number 6. If this was a list of who I would want to be in the SEC, then they would be in the top 3. But this is a list of the most likely teams to join the SEC. Virginia Tech feels like a perfect SEC school. They've had a great college football history and an alright college basketball history. Enter Sandman is one of the greatest traditions in college football. The entire crowd jumping up and down and waiting for Virginia Tech to enter the field has to be one of the most intimidating atmospheres in college football. They also have a history of playing SEC schools. Tennessee is in northeastern Tennessee, and Virginia Tech is in southwestern part of Virginia. So in 2016, they decided to play in a NASCAR track that is on the border of these two states. As both a college football and NASCAR fan, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. We've had NASCAR drive in the LA Coliseum, so let's see college football play in the Bristol Coliseum. Virginia Tech is also a military school. This could spark a rivalry with the other military school in the SEC, Texas A&M. The downside for Virginia Tech is that there's other markets that the SEC would want. Not to mention the SEC wants the University of Virginia more than Virginia Tech. The SEC would probably only want one Virginia school in the conference for now. Number 4 and 5 are pretty close. I keep seeing people argue if these teams should be the 4th team the SEC should add, but I have Miami at number 5. In 2001, Miami fielded one of the greatest teams in college football history. Also, Miami has the 9th largest metro population in the country, with just over 6 million people. They're always one of the best ACC schools. The reason why Miami is just outside the top 4 is the teams that are already in the conference, and also which states aren't in it. Spoiler alert, FSU is higher up in the list. I doubt Florida would let SEC add 2 more schools in the same state into the SEC. Virginia just barely edges out Miami for me. Virginia has a great basketball program, most recently winning the NCAA title in 2019. It has one of the greatest academic programs in the country. The main thing for Virginia is that the SEC has 0 teams in the state of Virginia, and UVA is the flagship team in the state. The top 3 schools seems like the teams that all the SEC fans think will go to the SEC after USC and UCLA join the Big Ten. These 3 schools feel like a lock at this point to join the SEC. University of North Carolina is 3rd. I don't need to tell you how great UNC basketball is, but I will anyway. They had one of the greatest coaches of all time and the greatest player of all time. Just this year, North Carolina lost to Kansas by 3 in the college basketball national championship. North Carolina's football program has been on a rise lately. Their former quarterback, Sam Howell, was drafted in the 5th round in the NFL draft this year. And for the past couple of years, UNC has been ranked in the top 25 consistently. The SEC also has no teams in the state of North Carolina. There have been reports that the SEC has already been trying to reach out to North Carolina. Florida State has been on a downward spiral ever since Jimbo Fisher left to get the Texas A&M head coaching job. They went from BCS titles to playing the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl to losing to FCS programs and now sitting at home during bowl season. I've grown up a Florida and Georgia fan, so allowed me to laugh for the next 8 hours about FSU football. Jokes aside, they've always been a strong team in Florida and have been a historical powerhouse, even though the best quarterback they've ever produced is Jameis Winston.
I was gonna say something along that line.
Florida and FSU play every year and despise each other, and it will also be good for the SEC and recruiting to have two teams in the state of Florida. Ever since the college football playoff, the only non-SEC schools to win a national title were Clemson and Ohio State. Clemson already has rivals in the SEC with South Carolina and Georgia. Touching the rock is one of the great traditions of college football, and Clemson has a very passionate fan base. They also have a coach that many things the next Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney. They've also produced top NFL talent like Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. Clemson is currently the biggest college football power in the Southeast that isn't a part of the SEC. It's the best team the ACC has, but they just seem like a perfect fit for the SEC. The college football realignment world moves faster than I can write these scripts, so if there have been some major changes yet, let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing.